Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about the food. Simply, you see some sardines over there with a potato. That's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. We are going to be discussing today the skeletons from the fish. Psychiatrist Peter Kapsch, a psychiatrist, was specialized in what kind of food is healthy. The symptoms that I have, that's basically this sound, this shh. I never had that in my life. The only time I would have this, however, would be during MK Ultra. Whenever they would be doing MK Ultra, that's exactly what that would be. Shh. To me, it might not even be like a high blood pressure. I don't think this is a high blood pressure. This is like a poisoning, like some kind of like there will be something in blood, maybe something like that, or some kind of maybe from intestines or something, some kind of wound or something, or in this case, in this brainwash, here is what I'm going to reveal. I cannot guarantee for any of this stuff, but I will explain best to my abilities as to what I was raped to see is bones from the sardines. These are sardines. First of all, I was a fisherman beginning the age 4, and I grew on the fish. I grew from the fish. Fish was the main food, and noticed people like Slobodan Milosevic, Serbs from the Belgrade, expressing great interests in causing wounds, causing injuries through forcing me to eat this kind of stuff. That's basically bones. One thing leads to another. I remember time when I was extremely choosy and I was be choosing every little thing. But during MK Ultra, they did the starvation. They drive completely nuts to the point that you would fucking eat this. This is the stuff that went on during MK Ultra. And they harassed, they bullied, they fed with the garbage. I told you there was time in my life when I would not even touch bread. I would not touch any kind of bread-made foods. But it was Josip Broz Tito, Serbs, that demanded from my father to introduce me to the world of bread. And they did. They had to. These were like teachers that would be coming in our house. And basically, if you don't cooperate, you don't pass the class. Now I'm talking about the parents. You don't cooperate, you don't have the job. You don't have worse than job. It's worse than job. I explained to you about what these animals were doing during what was known as Yugoslavia. Now, the one who inherited this type of eating fish bones issue was none other than psychiatrist Peter Kapsch, who started to push down my throat the issue of importance of eating sardines. That was interesting. He insisted and insisted and insisted on sardines, and they would be feeding me with sardines during MK Ultra. Never before in my lifetime would I ever eat sardines. There would be cooked sardines. But psychiatrist Peter Kapsch insisted that it's the fat. He came with all kinds of conspiracy theories in respect to issue that I have and lack of sleep. Claimed that, well, this is because of the food. He talked to me in such a sense, the way they talk to you is in such a sense that they don't say to you, you're going to have this kind of problem. They just say to you, like it's happening right now. That's how they do. And this goes back 30 years back in time. To make myself clear. If you don't have any kind of impression that that shit is real, that shit is happening, because you're well aware that in real life you don't have any kind of problems. And every time when you exit MK Ultra, you don't have any of these symptoms. So they have a capacity to control this issue with some medications or whatever they did. Medicated, I have no idea what they did. But every time they stopped the MK Ultra procedure, it would be like nothing happened. And life would go normally forward. That's what's interesting part about this stuff. Okay, so this issue, we don't have sardines here in where I live in Novo Mesto. You can only buy this inside of the stores. I never ever in my life was buying sardines. I didn't buy a single package of sardines in my lifetime. That's just a fact. I don't know how you people see this as, but like I said, I was fishing since I was 4 years of age on my own. Almost. Father would buy me a fishing license and so on, and I would eat fish, fish like fish, right? Now, there is a small fish that looks like a sardines here in the Krka River. They're called zelenike. I don't know how you say that, but it's like a shiner, like fish, like minnows, I'm gonna say, And what my parents would do is, which is the normal thing to do, they grab that, clean that stuff, and they just dump that in the hot oil. You know what I mean? And so fry it nicely, and then we would eat. We would have people from all over the place coming and eating this with us. And it was delicious. Very healthy stuff. And the Serbs that were coming here were taking us close note about this, and they demanded from my parents to feed me, to give me. I remember when I was in this kitchen and so on, they pushed forward bones, to eat bones. They demanded to eat bones from the fish. That's one of the things. That's related to the psychiatrist Petar Kapš. Slovenian police, early days. We're talking about 1982, 1982, beginning 1983, 1982, that's exactly what they were doing. 1984, this kind of stuff they wanted. Didn't make any fucking sense to me. I did eat bones and stuff, but there is something about me. I grew up eating fish since I was a baby. Meaning that I ate one independently. I ate like a cat. I could feel bones, because I remember my schoolmates, friends that would come and they would eat fish. They would have problem eating fish. When I was in the first grade, 6, 7 years old, when the kids eat fish, it would be all the time, help and help and help. It was like teaching kids to eat fish, basically, when I was a child, when I entered the grammar school. Already in the grammar school, they had a difficulty. No such thing for me, because I grew up with the fish, eating fish. I could eat, who cares, whatever fish. Never ever, I would, completely independent, never ever experienced anything. They claim that it's stuck in their throat and I don't know what. Now, the thing about it is that I never was fishing this kind of fish, zelenika. I never was fishing this stuff. This is what my father was doing when I was kid. And I grew up really healthy, without absolutely any kind of problems, despite everything this scum was doing to me. Poisoning was evident. Now, I told them during MK Ultra to give me fish, I would grab and eat the fucking fish. And the way they did the psychology, the way they were doing the psychology with me is they were always going after me to prove me that whatever I said was wrong. Oh yeah, the sardines I did eat. I ate the sardines from the cans. And those sardines from the cans, as you know, it's impossible that you would eat anything, bone and stuff like that. You already know that. They insisted on, that's a long story, that with the canned fish, Milan Kuchan insisted how poisonous that stuff is for me and so on. It really was. Milan Kuchan took me all the way to Morocco. He visited, this scumbag visited Morocco and was making all kinds of conspiracy theories in respect to the sardines, how they are packaged and it's not healthy and so on. This motherfucker got to travel the world for free under the so-called food poisoning conspiracy, investigating literally cans where they are coming from for Slovenia and so on. Total lunacy. Total lunacy. This isn't about psychiatrists, this is all the way. People from Morocco in Italy witnessed Milan Kucan talking, schizoid about canned fish and all kinds of stuff. In Croatia, they observed the schizoid would, let me finish this stuff. They would literally deliver me in Croatia, where you have a female Croatian politicians dealing with them, claiming that they already found the people who also were eating bones, claiming that the whole thing with the sardine that you can eat with the bones and so on, that's not, etc., that stuff is no good, that is not healthy and this and that. Well, this is the thing. If this is fried, the fish tails and so on, it's impossible that stuff would hurt you. And I'm not saying the whole thing, to eat the whole thing, but where the tail is and stuff like this. They were really, really philosophical about that stuff. And the only reason for the philosophy was the stuff that I was talking to you about Milosevic, about these Serbs from Belgrade that were coming here and demanding from me to eat bones, fish bones. They would have me to eat fish bones during every meal my parents would prepare food and they would demand from me to eat the whole fish bones. Now, I don't know how much psychiatrists, cops thought that this is not going to be a subject I will consider, but this, of course, is one of the main subjects also to consider about this stuff. I never ate cooked. I never even ate cooked fish. The first time I started to eat cooked fish, cooked sardines, was when I returned from Poland in 2020. That's when, actually, the cooked stuff, when it comes to fish, the first time I started to eat was probably sometimes in 2021, actually 2022 maybe, is the first time that I cooked myself a fish. I wasn't really cooking fish. I was semi-frying fish on a Teflon, that kind of stuff, preparing fish really good, or I would grill the fish and stuff in Miami where I would catch the fish. I would grill the fish, preferably, whatever. I would just go and buy fish already made and so on. But this is a phenomena. When you cook, of course, that bones can stuck. Well, they figure out that this is the stuff that is stucking in my kidneys. This was the paranoia, schizophrenia they enforced. The police demanded from me to see these bones stuck in my kidneys. Talking about Robert Golob, Gregor Golobic, Milan Kucan, and so on. They started all of a sudden to worry. But what's interesting is they started to worry about this very, very, very late. That's what's interesting about it. They started to talk about this issue extremely late. They started to talk about this issue once they already threw me into the psychiatric hospital in 2012. That's what I find this stuff so impressive about it, because this was, of course, always the healthiest food. And not the fried, not the way you prepare the fish, but the sardines. The sardines. And it was from all the parties, all the sides, that sardines have something in it that's very healthy for you. The sardines have something in it that's very healthy for you. And another thing that they were feeding me with, they were raping me to eat, which I never ever would eat in real time, would be with a chicken liver. With a chicken liver, they guaranteed for the problem that you have, it's a chicken liver, it's a chicken liver. And really, when I ate that, it would give me a temporary relief. I really don't have no idea what the hell this shit was. You know all about the hospital Novo Mesto when I came on examination, how it all ended up, and what police insisted will happen if I will go and report myself to the general physician, if I will inquire my general physician through what is known as a health service system in Slovenia, basically psychiatric hospitalization. So I was brought to Croatia, and all of a sudden, sometimes in 2014, it was a Croatian politicians that started to insist, no, and that stuff that you do, all of a sudden it was I do, the stuff that I do. What kind of stuff the fuck I do? That I eat bones and stuff like this, that I eat bones from the fish, that's a good stuff. Yeah, I was telling them to eat bones from the fish. I was telling them to eat that bones for the fish is good. This stuff is all good. Everything was placed basically in my mouth that I said. So they reverted the whole thing. And based on MK Ultra theories about bones, that bones are full of calcium and so on, I really started to believe that eating bones, fish bones, is full of calcium because this is what they brainwashed me with. On the other hand, they claimed, no, it's not. It's very dangerous for you. So, you know, from this kind of stuff, you would not know what the fuck is right from wrong. Now, I wasn't crazy. I never was crazy that I would go and eat fish bones because that's a pure lunacy. But the question is what the fuck they were doing with me during MK Ultra, especially because of what I suggested here. I'll never forget Macron. Macron was not the person that would give me shit advice when it comes to the... He knew what they were doing. He just didn't dare to say loudly. He said, he just suggested. And by the way, he said, and by the way, the sardines, try to eat some other fish and so on, which didn't make any sense. To me, fish is fish. I don't care. I like sardines. I prepare sardines and I'll eat sardines, whatever fish. But they reversed the whole crime which was behind, which traced exactly to Belgrade. And it didn't start in 94. It started in my second grade. But here, in this house, it started in 1982. In 1982, it started in this house with the sardines. Not with the sardines, but with the whole fish bone from the Krka River, which is big, demanded from me to eat the fucking fish bone. They did that stuff already before in our house, and when I was not home, in Belgrade and so on. But beginning in 1982, they started to demand from me to eat inside of this house, which father barely built, to eat the fish bones, that the fish bones is the way to go, that I must. And it was clear, I told that's the fish bones that are healthy and so on. You must eat the fish bones. So just so that you know about the fish bones, exactly about who, how, what. The Croatian lady had a physicians from Croatia down in Dalmatia where they would go, and they started to claim how they already had patients with problem by eating the the skeleton from the fish and that kind of stuff, that it's this kind of problem and so on and so forth. Probably a paranoia, probably had nothing to do with the reality, but I told you that these are not even animals or criminals. I told you these are beasts we are talking about. When it comes to Ljubljana and Novo Mesto police station, these are animals that were coming here. I do resent other Illuminatis from the West because this stuff absolutely was preventable. Absolutely was preventable. How the fuck you end up feeding me 30 years with a cooked sardine, with the stuff, with the stupid shit? Cooked sardine you get maybe once in a blue moon. This was not even a regular food, this stuff. What they were giving me during MK Ultra was a garbage, was a total trash. Trashy food. Recommendations, the curing with the sardines. That stuff started sometimes in maybe 2000, 25 years ago. But would anybody eat cooking sardines? Sardines don't taste good when you cook them. Obviously, if you toxify brain so much that individual is going to see himself through the illness, serious health problems, sleep deprivation and so on, in food that doesn't even taste good and so on, just so that he will believe he will survive and so on. This is some sort of disillusioning, to disillusion person, to discourage person, to screw the person in his head, And it was designed for something else. It was designed to cover up sardines. I would not even get them often. Sardines started to get often on a table, sometimes not often, but it was like this, that they would go to the store, buy chicken that was already prepared. And what I would get is like a little piece like this. They would buy themselves chickens, and I would get like a little piece. When we would come home, it's all in the store, was everything was for me. But when we come home, it was a little piece of chicken for me. And all the time they talk during MK Ultra that you must eat chicken, you must eat meat, you must eat fish. You don't eat meat and so on. That's bullshit. So they recorded. When they stopped, they recorded. They obtained the statements from me to absolutely attacking them. Everything they said I acknowledge is wrong. And everything was done through the intoxifying, through the violence. You know, it's impossible to explain what kind of violence that is, but I'm going to give you an example. You load somebody with total garbage, and you continue to load him with the garbage, and you start to insist him that he doesn't eat the normal food and healthy food. This person is going to start to say to you, under my circumstances, that the food that he eats is good. Even that he doesn't have the money, the truth is that they keep him unemployed forcefully, the way I explained. Nothing really is good. It's toxic. And it's not about even his eating habits that he would have, but it's about obtaining the recordings and stuff during stay in our house, with which they hope they're gonna prove, like during MK Ultra, like that I would not eat the meat and that I would not eat the fish and so on, which makes it toxic because you acknowledge it as a pure lies in your face. And you start to respond with, you know, whatever they say contrary and so on, you know. This is no good, and obviously in real life you would not touch. But under MK Ultra you're going to go, no, this is good, fuck you. And you find whatever reason in it, just as it pertains to all other issues, just basically to psychologically survive. Because this is the degree of the violence these people ongoingly exercise throughout my life. So this is very, very important issue to clarify about the bones, about the play with the bones. Very important. I do resent mother who was watching all this stuff, and father did too, and did absolutely nothing about it to stop this, to report it to me, these things, to just go along with whatever, you know, even at age 53 I am, and all you get is, yeah, if you say something, you're mentally ill. That's the answer, basically. That's all there is to it. Very important to clarify about the fish bones. Very same issue as to the fish bones. I'm going to dedicate to the video about the, oh shit, how do you call this stuff already in English? Dandelion, dandel, whatever. They grow in the field. You can get them anywhere. Yeah, it's going to come to me. I don't know. It doesn't come to me. Regrat in Slovenian, they say regrat. How the hell do you call this plant in English? I do not know, but yeah, this is all over the Europe. I never was collecting this stuff in my lifetime, never. The one who started to collect this stuff during MK Ultra was, yes, I did when I was a child. We would eat a lot of this stuff. You see, I was healthy like a bull anyways. The one who was collecting this kind of stuff was a physician, a doctor from Novo Mesto General Hospital, who came at Novo Mesto police station. That's why it's very, very important for me to clarify this stuff. He was one of them, and it's also the police that would force to eat this stuff. This, whatever you call this. And I started to pick it up myself because of what I recall was, you know, eating your own salad. So you don't go on the garden from the mom, but you go on a grass and you pick up the salad. If you don't have the money for the store, you go to the grass. Nobody's going to say that you don't have and so on, because you can go to the grass and you can pick it up and you eat. This stuff is also bad for the kidneys, by the way. I will continue to eat because I prefer this because of the reasons that I stated. I'm not the one doing this. You rape, you force these issues down the throat. And you also, it's very important to notice this, you people are the one, and talking about also Prince Charles, now King Charles, physicians, all kinds of people that insisted this is the way, this is what I must eat, and so on and so forth. This is not very healthy for the kidneys, by the way. This never was my idea. Just remember, it was forced and it was conditioned through economic genocide. That's how they do it. So that if anything, any kind of my habits that I have, because they talk during MK Ultra, they talk all the time about my funny habits. I don't have any kind of funny habits. The funny people, you are not only funny, but you were all funny people. The physicians, all kinds of garbage that became involved in this stuff. There was of no fucking use of you. I didn't use the physicians. It was the law that you raped. You are funny people. The law is what you did not allow me to exercise. The law was that bothered you. Not my funny habits, whatever. You had a problem with completely other issues and you raped down my throat this kind of habits. Whatever habits the fuck that you see that are funny. Maybe the women pants are funny. Well, the women pants also was used during MK Ultra. And I find them good because they're elastic and they're very, they can take exercise, everything. So there is no funny habits here. That's what's done through a total denial to any kind of money, to any financial resource, to absolutely anything. And you scum did this for 53 years. Yeah, I find it quite bizarre that, in fact, Milan Kucan started to desperately search for support in 2014, as it looked like I wasn't going to be silent. I wasn't going to allow to be silenced about the stuff they were doing. I didn't allow to silence me. He started to search for support from physicians, from all kinds of people, all the way down to Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik, Split, Zadar, started to recruit Croatian physicians to talk to me about eating fish and bones. What the fuck are you talking about, Milan Kucan, about eating fish and bones? You fucking lunatic. I grew up eating fish. Remember, it was 1979 when you have Serbs coming in our house and demanding from me. Beginning the 1979, it was a policy. It was still under the Josip Broz Tito. It was a policy. I had to do next to the plate that I was served. I had to do my part. They call it my part, and my part was to eat the whole fish bones. You demanded, you enforced through the violence during MK Ultra. What the fuck were you talking with the Croatian physicians, doctors, and politicians to me that is not healthy to eat bones? What the fuck were you up to, Mr. Milan Kucan? You're going to have to explain all this shit together with Robert Golob. This Slovenski Serbi, these Slovenian Serbs, they're going to have to explain about these issues, because these are the people who did this shit. These are the people who are behind all this stuff. And they need to explain what exactly do they mean by my eating that fish bones are not healthy. What the fuck is this all about? What kind of stuff the hell is this all about? Somebody like myself would not know about the fish, what the fuck is healthy and what is not healthy. And I would have an uncle like this from Ljubljana teaching me about all of a sudden what is healthy and what is not healthy. When you Milan Kucan with the Serbs, forced me down my throat inside of our house. You were one of the people who demanded. Remember that part? When you said at the dinner, every time you said, and now your part. And my part was to eat the fish bones, the whole fish bones. That was your meal and Kuchan with your Serbian colleagues. That's your part. That's up to you to explain with Robert Golob, with Gregor Golobic and others. You need to explain yourself about this shit. This isn't about me to explain myself. You scum need to explain this. I was going to let it go, but then I realized that that would actually be a mistake. Another animal who took directly the legacy of Milan Kuchan in respect to the bone eating. His name is Borut Pahor. He was the initiator right after Milan Kuchan. And this is the guy, this Slovenski predsjednik. So the Slovenian president was by the name Borut Pahor, El Famoso Pahor. He was the one who assumed this job, this Serbian assignment on behalf of Milan Kuchan, Serbs from Belgrade. He demanded, he was kind of an older brother to Robert Golob, we could say. It was like, this guy here that you see, this was the one who had what was known as expectations. You understand that? It was Milan Kuchan, and this was the guy who was in charge to enforce the expectations in Robert Golob. Robert Golob was explained that he was like a little pound from this guy here. This was like an older brother to him, who even threatened him oftentimes that if he will not fulfill the commitments, the requirements to obtain certain state position, if he will not display enough competency, he will not get. And this is a fishbone eating idiot who was the one who had this kind of requirements, and he was passing all kinds of sickness down onto Robert Golob. And of course, Robert Golob mentored others, other idiots or animals or whatever you would say to this.